Ronald, you were raving a bit when we started talking off recording about. We talked about the Disney Plus stuff last week a little bit, like the Disney Plus day, but
Yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned your excitement. Why don't you bring it up real quick?
Yeah, so this was kind of a part of the soft uh entrance into Disney Plus Day, and it was the announcement that some of the films on Disney Plus will be IMAX enhanced, which means that you'll be able to see the IMAX scenes in their true glory, in the ratio that you were supposed to see them in, as if we kind of talked about this in before, but there are versions of physical media that are a little different than the digital ones, and one of the advantages to getting physical is that some of them are have IMAX scenes in them, so you get to see them
Right.
in the higher ratio. You get to see more image. Uh, it creates a kind of a bigger spectrum of things to look at when an action scene is going on. So with the announcement of that, they actually just kind of shadow dropped a bunch of crazy ass. I think like it's like 13 films total.
Right. Right.
I had the pleasure of looking at Black Widow this today, and when it gets to an IMAX scene, you know it. You know the bars that you have expand, and you get to see way more stuff. Like you get to see the sky, you get to see the ground, you get to see more Scarlett Johansson. I mean, who doesn't want to see more Scarlett Johansson kicking ass? So it's interesting because the argument's always been is physical media getting out of here, and if you have an advantage like this is an argument for someone to lean more towards like a Disney Plus over buying a physical version. If only two or three of the MCU movies in the past couple years have an IMAX version physically, you know, you just get Disney Plus, play the monthly fee, and you're seeing these beautiful films with Atmos and Dolby Vision. And it seems like with this enhancement, the picture quality is getting better. So they're working on something, man. They got some little dwarfs in the servers doing some work, banging on.
They just have like wrenches banging on gear
Yeah.
cogs just to make the IMAX work.
How do you guys feel about the experience expanding like this?
John,
I don't have any feelings at all. I mean, I'm sure if I
in
were
general,
watching,
or just
I'm sure
about
if I were
this?
Yeah.
watching one of those movies,
Right.
and I would notice it because I mean, I do notice like picture quality. I know people that don't seem to notice at all the difference between
Right.
standard def and HD. They have to be looking at a giant television to admit that it looks different, or
Right.
that when it's squashed or stretched. I mean, I'm so sensitive to all of that, but
Me
there's a
too.
general quality level that I will be generally satisfied with.
Yeah.
And I think beyond that, to impress me, it would take like, oh wow, this presentation. Like I have been in a friend's home when they had a projector and a good screen setup, and it was so bright, it was so perfect and bright, and the resolution
Right.
looked so beautiful. It looked like a movie theater, and I was like, oh wow, this is a better experience, But it's
Right.
beyond just that. This is the acceptable level of what I guess I would consider, I guess I don't know. It's which K it is, 4K, 8K, but like definitely that Blu-ray quality level. I notice when something dips below that on the televisions that we
Yeah.
have here. So I guess I'm not excited necessarily about like just the idea that it's there, but I do agree with what you're saying about like if they're only going to like these are only going to exist in theaters, and then there's a way to bring that experience into the home theater, and they're not going to do it in physical media. Then Disney Plus seems like the perfect place to do this kind of thing because I mean, this should be the sort of catch-all place for all of that stuff. So,
Yeah.
and as far as that visual difference, I think that moment you're talking about, I've felt it. We've all felt it when you're watching something, and I mean, the Nolan Batman films would have IMAX sequences when you just get a bit more information and a bit more immersion. The Mission Impossible movies, I think, do that sometimes too, where it's just. So I think, yeah, it definitely has an effect on me. And especially in the theater, that can really have an effect on you if you're looking at it on a good giant screen. As far as it being at home, I'm not as likely to rewatch these movies for the quality. But I will say that I was hoping we would talk about this in some way because when I was watching the James Bond movie we're going to talk about later, I was thinking like, oh yeah, this is one of those movies that I can see the kind of Ronald of it all, where it's like you might have something that you put on just because it looks great and
Yeah.
it sounds great.
Yeah.
And so I always think about that more now in light of you, because I'm like, oh yeah, Ronald likes to do that. Ronald likes to just really enjoy that experience, the quality of it. I mean, I think we all do, but I think you seek it out in a way that is different from the way that you know. So as far as it, like, on paper, am I excited? Not particularly, but I'm sure the next time I watch one of those movies, I'll notice for sure that they've, you know, that it's got, like I said, it's got that scene or two, or maybe a whole movie eventually. Isn't there something that was shot all the way in IMAX? Am I wrong about that?
I'm
Maybe
not
they were
sure.
announcing that something was going to be shot in all
Entirely.
IMAX or something. I know it's like totally expensive. It's cost prohibitive to do.
Yeah.
But
Not sure.
anyway, no. So short answer, not excited about it in theory, but I love it. I love the fact that there's going to be the best quality version, and for whatever kind of you know, cinephiles, people that really want to take advantage of that. It seems silly that it wouldn't be
Right.
on their service that's designed for this. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an interesting like announcement in a lot of ways, from a technical standpoint, like also like over a streaming platform, but also just like the idea that, like, you know, you have to imagine like what kind of conversations have had to happen like with IMAX to even allow this, because like, you know, they have a very storied history in terms of like, you know, what they allow and not allow to, you know, be shown in the theater for how long, or on what, like we mentioned a little bit off camera, like, you know, what makes its way onto even the physical media that's out there for these filmmakers that really kind of champion IMAX, like Nolan.
Mhm.
You know, some of his movies, you know, their Blu-ray box sets like have, you know, the IMAX sequences, like the 1:9 ratio in the movie still, but like most don't. So it is interesting that, you know, there's a streaming platform that gets the okay from IMAX, you know, to go ahead and offer, you know, 13 of these massive Marvel movies, and probably more as they come onto the service exclusively. Um, you know, to be in that format. And I mean, the other thing is too, like, you know, people's homes, it's acknowledging the idea of, you know, it's, or not acknowledging, it's like acknowledging and like kind of trying to solidify the idea that like people really want to have the best possible experience at home, you
Yeah.
know, or the best possible that they can have, you know, with the means of their machine, of their hardware. Like TVs, you know, now are kind of caught up to the fact that they can accommodate this kind of format pretty easily.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, you have TVs that are like in 16:9 now that easily accommodate this 1:9 ratio that IMAX is shot in, and it looks amazing if you have a great TV. Like, you know, I'm like, I know Ronald does, and I have like a TV that's a really nice TV. The other TVs in my house, I don't know that it would really wow me that much, but on that nice TV, it probably will when I have a chance to watch it. Not to mention, like, eventually when the sound gets upgraded on these titles, which they also announced that, you know, it'll have like the upgraded soundtrack once, I think in the next couple of months or something, they said. But um it's just like a marriage of like these properties being able to say, yes, you can use the technology on your platform, because we know that the people that are going to want this, and, you know, and or have the TVs in their homes to really kind of do it justice, because like they're all about protecting that IMAX brand.
Yeah.
So it's like most TVs can accommodate this. And, you know, I think they made a comment about like 26% more like space for the movie on your screen, and that can actually be used now because of TVs being formatted the way they are now versus even 10-15 years ago.
That's nuts.
So in that way, it does seem like a really interesting, cool thing. And to John's point, like, I don't know that I really rewatch a lot of them, you know, for the tech side of things, but, you know, the titles that they put out, like some of these Marvel movies, you know, some of them are my favorites of the last, you know, decade. So like those, I think I probably would really benefit, you know, from being able to experience it on the IMAX enhanced, you know, that they're rolling out. And to be curious to see, you know, how much more of this type of stuff comes out, like on things like HBO Max, like, you know, like when they kind of put these things back on their platform once they're done the theatrical windows, like, dude, you know, will that be something that they try to pivot to and offer? Like, because again, like these over the top streaming things that they have, that's where they want people to go, you know.
Yeah.
So if Disney's got it, you got to be like, well, is that exclusive to Disney? And I highly, there's no way that IMAX does that
Right.
exclusive. Like,
Yeah.
so now this might be something new that they offer for these movies that we see in theaters that have IMAX, like Dune or like Bond, you know, had some IMAX sequences. Like, it'd be cool that wherever they end up streaming, like that you could see that there too, you know.
Yeah,
So we'll
it
see.
would
We'll
be.
see how that pans out, but I think it's pretty cool.
And yeah.